Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/talesofneckbeard, but beforehand, if you would like to, please share to like the video, comment down below during the video if there is something you would like to discuss, and afterwards consider subscribing to the channel, becoming part of the amazing notification squad, and watching other videos. Alright, let's get right into that lovely content. Let's go! Our first story comes to us from username MadisonHoss19, my controlling ex who is definitely a neckbeard. Super long story ahead, sorry in advance. So this was from when I was 17, homeless, and just completely not great with anything social. Considering I was fresh out of being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I was living with my ex and his dad in a car somewhere in Southern California. I grew up in Northern California, so I was new to literally everything. Now, this guy didn't give me any neckbeard vibes at first. He was cool, and I didn't mind hanging out with him despite our age gap. He was 21 and I was 17. I met him at a sword fighting group. He was small, wore a ponytail in his hair that was always greasy looking, and was into anime intensely. He also lived with his parents and can't keep a job to save his life. It was all super platonic and friendly, but I started noticing he'd follow me around all the time. He made it clear how much he hated my boyfriend at the time and would tell me how much he could see that I wasn't happy. I was fine, I was just stressed because of being homeless and going through a lot of stuff at such a young age. He would go on and on about how he was in love with the moon. Let's call him James. So James would say he had these powers, I shot you not, and that he could draw these powers and make things happen, and how he talked about the moon was in love with the devil. I went along with a lot of this weird stuff to be nice because I didn't want to piss him off. He liked to fight with my boyfriend, the same age as me, through sword fighting, and I had to constantly tell him to leave it alone. Eventually, things did end up going bad with me and my boyfriend due to stress and just everything going on. The boyfriend, now ex, actually not a great guy, but that didn't take away from the creep of James. And James convinced me I needed to run away. He wanted to date me and texted me through Facebook Messenger some really not appropriate stuff to be saying to a 17-year-old. At sword fighting, I usually just watched and didn't really like the idea of fighting with lightsabers. He would often make me go on walks with him and would talk about the moon and other weird stuff that I swear to God I can't describe how freaking insane and stupid cringe-inducing it was. I went along with it again because he was older and I figured I didn't want to be a barch and judge someone. I thought at the time that he just cared for me a lot, kind of like a weird uncle. On one of these walks he actually tried to kiss me. I didn't really know what to do because I was still with my boyfriend and we were still pretty monogamous and I wasn't going to cheat. I tried to tell him I wasn't into it, but he literally pushed me against this bathroom building and forced a kiss. I felt so freaking violated that I just booked it back to the group, staying attached to my boyfriend's hip the rest of the time, James following not too far behind. That night, he texted me through Messenger and ranted and monologued. He did this a lot, for a long time, about how much he knew my boyfriend was a terrible, abusive piece of shit and how he would be the perfect one for me. I was not good at standing up for myself at all at the time in my life, so I just let him rant and ignored it without telling anyone. I'd already been through enough of that, so I just let it go and tried to stay attached to my boyfriend. This guy convinced me to run away from the car I was living in, and I got put into the foster system. I decided to date him because he never let it go and I didn't know how to say no. At one point when I was living in the group home, we were dating for a very short time and he was extremely clingy and controlling to the point of it being scary. He would spam my phone with over 100 texts and would never let me have any time to myself. He called me when I got to use the phone, and if anyone of any sex he knew I was bi, even so much as talk to me, he would talk about killing them with his blade and how dare they talk to what's his. It was creepy and weird and I was not into anything he was saying. It made me feel trapped and I hated that feeling. We went on a date when I got a pass to go out by myself and he tried to force another kiss. At this point I was done. Literally freaking done. I pushed him away and told him to leave me the frick alone. I ran back to the group home and he never stopped calling me in the group home's phone. He didn't give up when I went to my foster home. Finally, he called one night when I was going back home from work. It was late and I had to walk up a long hill to get home. He called me and started telling me what he wanted to do to my ex-boyfriend and his father, disgusting and extremely disturbing things to hear about someone that I frankly still cared for and loved. This guy went on to the point of saying he wanted to cut him up and kill their dog and make them eat the dog. I wanted to vomit. It was all very I'm very badass kind of stuff that made me sick but also cringe. I had had enough and screamed at him to never go near me or them again. I called him a predator and blocked him on everything. A month later, I went back to my ex and was going to move into the hotel room they were living in and help them get into an apartment so I could once again live with my boyfriend. I told them all about James and what he'd done, things that seriously made me cringe and just roll my eyes. He got upset, but we laughed it off and just agreed to never talk to him again. I wish that was the end of it. He got my number again and continued to spam me with long texts and everything. He would still claim to kill kill my boyfriend and all of his family, even his older brother who he never met, just because he was related to my boyfriend. He would growl over the phone when he'd call me, and at some point it got tiring for me and I wasn't going to entertain it any further. I blocked him again and he proceeded to follow my Twitter, just never giving up. I was 18 then and he kept telling me that it was legal now and that we could still be together. He would respond to my tweets with weird stuff asking me how I was and if I was still with the dipshot, my boyfriend. I never responded to them. He then would tweet at me with pictures of the park that we used to hang out at and continuing to be freaking creepy. I blocked him on Twitter and moved on with my life. Things are better for me and I got a better job, shaved my head, and broke up with my boyfriend, becoming official with my current boyfriend who I love very much. I moved into my own place and James took this as an opportunity to once again try to contact me with his new phone. He texted me again and I groaned on the bus ride home from work. I work a graveyard shift, so it was very early in the morning when I was getting home. This dude assumed I was single because I had told him I was no longer seeing X, my boyfriend, from way before. I told him I was seeing Y and that things were going insanely well and I was happy and polyamorous. He was furious. He flipped out and went off at how I never gave him a chance. I went off as well, saying I did and he was a creep and a predator still, that I didn't owe him a second chance, to which he replied that I gave X a ton of second chances even after cheating on me and gaslighting me, which was true, but whatever. I told him that didn't change and that I didn't feel anything for him romantically and that I never wanted to be with him in the first place. I said we'd never work out because he's monogamous and I'm not, as well as him being just as manipulative as X, if not worse. Overall, James irritated me and still texts me all the time, saying how he's still in love with the old me and still goes off on his badass tangents. Me and Y are engaged now and that only got him to back off a little more than before. He doesn't make many advancements to me anymore, but god darn, he drive me absolutely nuts. Sorry if this was super long, figured I'd talk about this somewhere since I still can't believe it happened to me. Stay safe out there. You know, the one thing to really take away from this is that there really are people that are that persistent and they think that just because they're friendly that they can change everything. Like, I'm sorry, but she's already engaged. I'm honestly surprised you haven't already gone to the police to get a restraining order already. Our next story comes to us from username Yoshikai322. The pink-haired legbeard. For those who don't know, legbeard is the female equivalent of your average neckbeard. This wonderful story has a couple of characters. Me, Yoshikai622, a short Asian kid legbeard, let's call her Pinkbeard, a friend, let's call him Steve, an average looking guy who doesn't do much in the story. Back in my sophomore year in high school, there was this big anime club. I decided to join it because I'm kind of into it, but I'm not a fanatic. I really liked a few select anime, but they also played a lot of video games, mostly Smash. I liked the people and knew a lot of them, so I decided to join. For the first few months, it was absolutely awesome. Every Tuesday, I'd hang out with my friends and play Smash while listening to an anime playing on the projector, and it was glorious. One day, we were chilling out when the head of the club announced that we got a new member. Typically, this was just to help make them feel comfortable, so it wasn't too unusual. She was pretty cute, albeit a little pudgy. She had a pretty small build, maybe about 5'2", and she was a little bit on the chunky side, not fat, but kinda big in the hips. She had on a too tight Zelda shirt and an anime backpack, Fairy Tail I think, and a shot ton of keychains. Her crowning feature was her pink hair, which looked absolutely obnoxious. She had it curled up and styled like a popular Japanese fashion, but it was kind of frizzy and a little greasy. Other than that, she looked pretty normal. She seemed outgoing and moved into a group quickly, eventually settling next to me. I didn't mind the company since my buddy happened to be gone that day. I asked if she had a DS and she said yeah, so I asked if she wanted to play. Eventually she joined and we played a couple of matches with her. She wasn't too bad. She kicked the crap out of me and a couple other people. I told her she was really good and she got really bashful, but not the normal kind. She got really animated and squeaked out a "Thank you, getting a compliment for such a kawaii boy from you is so sugoi." I felt my insides cringe a little, but it wasn't too bad. I met a fair share of weebs, so they're relatively cool. I didn't think too much about it and just awkwardly nodded, telling her that she's pretty good. She hung out with me during the club after that, and I eventually introduced her to my friend. Pinkbeard was pretty nice, but she did have her moments. We walked to the outdoor tables to have a match since the club room was a little loud and she was latched onto my arm. I figured she was cold since the room was always kind of chilly, but it still felt off. I asked her if she was okay and it was a bit odd. "Pinkbeard, are you okay?" "Oh, Yoshikai622, she battered her eyes, animated, and squeezed her body against my arm, getting very uncomfortably close to squishing her boobs on my arm. "I'm okay now, it's so cold. I just figured I could warm up with my best friend." She then gave me a clearly fake and animated sneeze before letting go of me, leaving me with several questions. After that, she started to lean on me more and touch me a bit more, all of which I was uncomfortable with. I didn't want to tell her no because I didn't want to make her upset. I knew what it was like to be rejected by people, and I never wanted to make someone feel bad. I just didn't like how she touched me. It was creepy. One day, she was leaning up to me at lunch and cuddling my arm. I was at my wit's end as I tried to eat my food with her clinging to the left side of my body before I felt a rush of legbeard energy plow into me like a pink-haired truck. She was leaning in to kiss me on the cheek, and that's when I felt everything implode into a Cheeto dust-filled void of terror. I just remembered her kissing my cheek and me going, "Whoa, what the frick are you doing?" She made this face and got animated again. Her voice got all high-pitched. "Yoshika622, isn't this love?" She got really weird and strangely, most likely fake, violent with no one in particular. "They don't know who they're messing with. I'm a yandere. No one can take my Yoshikai 622 away from me. No one!" She began to laugh hysterically, which drew over everyone's attention, leaving me red-faced and trying to hide behind Steve. I just wanted to die. She just ran off laughing like a nutcase before I awkwardly left and went to my classroom early, where thankfully I could go inside. I didn't see her much after that, which leads to a pretty anticlimactic ending. She followed me around for a bit and stuck weird sticky notes to my locker, but that eventually stopped when I visibly didn't care. I was freaking terrified on the inside. I'm just guessing me freaking out scared her off a little. She would occasionally do some weird stuff in the halls, but it wasn't directed at me in particular. Over time, she started messing with other people and left me alone, but I did watch her change slightly. Her hair changed color a few times over the year, but nothing else. TLDR, weird legbeard girl follows me and touches me weirdly until I tell her to shove off. She just kindly vanishes after that and bugs other people. Sorry it wasn't a crazy story, but I'm kind of glad it wasn't. Neckbeards are weird people. Yeah, that is definitely the truth there. I'll have to say, this kind of reminds me of my own experience. I guess it's somewhat similar when I was in high school. Yes, I was in my school's anime club, but that's mainly because a bunch of my friends who played Yu-Gi-Oh were in that too. I was able to make some friends, and then again, there was this one weird girl where she was, I think, the grade above me, and she mainly wanted to act like the big-chested girl stereotype in anime, and it was weird at first, and then it just got strange the farther it went on. She did do abridging, and she mainly only voiced characters not based on personality, but because of their chest size, and that got really weird really quick, and now she just turned into a complete nutcase. Kinda glad, actually, that she just randomly disappeared off the radar. I know she's still alive at least, but, you know, she just kinda distanced herself from everybody. But with that, that is going to have to be it for the video. If you would like what you had seen, be sure to slam that like button, comment down below what you liked about the video, and consider subscribing to the channel and turning on them notifications. I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.